Okay, I'm a bit tired. Hopefully this works out. I tried to do this video earlier, but I don't want to talk about the Dr. Witnesser too much. Done a previous video on that. Said I would do another, but no. Uh, Excuse me, a bit of wind. He had a default though, didn't he? Very often he defaulted to this. Didn't look confident at all. This doesn't look confident. Self caressing, like the one hand needs the other, and looking down. Really pathetic, and bringing that hands up, is protecting his torso here. I've seen myself do this a lot more recently. It's a steeple, called a steeple. It's interesting studies on the steeple. Is they had chess players grouped together, play a game of chess in a informal environment, and had they said that they wanted to see what people look like when they're really thinking difficult puzzles through, difficult things through, right? So, okay. But then they took part of the group aside and said, do this thing, or explain later. And the thing was, one player was doing this, looking at the board, the chessboard. They're doing the steeple, very confident thing. Whereas the other player would have been looking at the board, just their own natural body language, nothing forced, trying to look at the board, trying to figure this out. There's a way around this. The one doing this looked like, to the other player, looked like, he's seen my plan, they know what they're doing, they're very confident, they can find a way around it, even if they have never really studied body language before, in terms of reading about what means what and certain cues and why people do certain things. Subconsciously, semi-consciously, they keyed in on this, and they thought, didn't have the confidence to continue the plan. It mucked them about to the level which lowered their confidence and ruined their plans. A huge percent of the time, like 90% of the time, the ones doing this won the game, even if they didn't have much of a plan or thought they was going to lose. Isn't that fascinating? So, it can be very easy to the unlearned observer to fake confidence in body language here and there. But if you really observe and do just a little bit of a deeper dive on body language and what certain cues mean, you can see through a lot of bullshit. If people keep defaulting to a particular body language thing and just do that thing only, then the body language is not flowing in line with anything else they're doing more naturally. It just looks artificial and way too controlled. Andrew looks like a freaking robot here, and it just makes him look dishonest. His followers would see it as like, I'm the man, I'm confident, nothing can bring me down. His followers are probably his delusional followers who bought into his bullshit, trying to emulate this individual. Don't emulate other people, don't have a role model, because... But why do I say don't have a role model? Well, I think you need to be your own role model, your own hero. How you can do that is, you could cherry pick some things out that you think are good in other people, perhaps, but you don't copy and emulate. The people have got to their own successes via things that because they've been through troubles themselves. Whereas Andrew, well, I don't call him a success. I call him a fake bullshit con artist. His own brother wants to emulate him. His own brother says, word for word, to quote, you don't get successful by doing... Sorry, you don't get successful by pretending, you get successful by doing the things you're pretending to be. So, in other words, if Andrew's like that, he's pretending to be something he's not. Of course he is. Why would he need to boast about, I'm a genius, I'm this, I'm that? If he was, you wouldn't need to spend effort into telling people this. You would never have heard in history Einstein running around going, hey everyone, guess what? I'm a genius. It'd be like, yeah, so, well, we know. And? Have you lost it? It's a fine line between genius and madness. And then there's a fine line between getting too comfortable with a fake persona and really trying to improve yourself. Andrew has fallen right super deep into the fake persona here and wants people to emulate this. It just really is stupid. Let me transition across.
Some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Throughout this interview, excessively keeps defaulting to this position, this robot position, unemotional, unnatural. It lacks fluidity. It lacks openness, even though his top torso is like open to it's. He's obviously heard about body language and what people do in closing the body off, but you're closed off if you're not fluid in your body language anyway, because people have trouble discerning what you're all about then, because he's got things to hide. If he didn't have things to hide, he wouldn't be excessively controlling his body position. Yeah, feet flat on the ground will have an effect of even making you feel more confident. Sometimes you can work from the outside in like that, and inside out.
Rape, human trafficking, and also because there's a great deal of concern about the things.
She goes deep dive straight away into the accusations, and his breathing sort of begins to increase. Watch his breathing in line with other things that she's saying. Her body language, fine, way more open than his is actually. People like to see the palms. Again, this comes from early origins. Long time before we had anything like modern society, where we just had caves if we was lucky, or some shelter, like somewhere under a tree or whatever. Your tribe, your group of your family being visited by a stranger, well, back then they'd want to see the palms of your hands. Why? Well, you're not concealing a weapon then. We see this Passover in body language that is almost universal across all cultures, whereas I'm innocent, wasn't me. Oh, see, no weapons. See? There's a massive amount of Passover that we'd rather think that doesn't happen from our most primal start-offs, like our earliest origins. Happens a lot. It still influences us today. So she's open palm, pen, and she's obviously right-handed pen, but she's also expressive, using her hand to say, oh, this, she's sort of going through is the accusations and waving them along in her mind.
And the impact that they have on young people, on women.
I don't think the concerns about the things.
And she goes back to perhaps maybe a bit of self-soothing, caressing her wrist, her left hand, which brings the lower arm over her lower abdomen, which could be a protective thing, but you know, it might just be her baseline, might just be a habit as well. But this an interesting point. It could be protective.
As I say, I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have. I would argue that a lot of the things that are already out there inside of the legacy media and the matrix as a whole are far more damaging than the things I say.
It's the concern about the influence you have being a harmful influence, but let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence, the fact that I am massively influential over the youth, and I understand that.
Yeah, all the boasting. I want to get to, maybe it's here, there's certain things he says. It's about here, I think. And even still, we still have this excessive, I'm going to sit still like a robot.
Please him and wanting him to be happy, that I was just kind of, yeah, okay, do whatever you want.
And what is she accused? Has she accused me of a crime, this imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
Emotional or psychological...
Somebody...
Flat that I've got.
There is somebody apparently called Sophie, and I don't know, I wouldn't put it past the BBC to create a persona, create some victim name. I don't trust the BBC whatsoever. That's not in support of Andrew, by the way. Andrew's a bag of shit. He's going on about the accident, claims to be a nice person, but this person, Sophie, is one of the ones that were approached, probably the BBC or whoever. The BBC got news of this, that claims to be one of the victims of Andrew's bullshit. So here's where it begins to get interesting in the way he talks. And he does open at his body language occasionally, but it very quickly goes back to this bullshit robot position. Eyebrows raised is ramming home a point. In the sometimes you might flash your eyebrows quickly upwards when you meet somebody, or say hey, to say like, hey, what's up? You see baboons do this as well, flashing. It's like this, crossing a friend in the street, you go to a nod. Men do that a lot more than women. It's like nod, acknowledgement. Women a bit more flamboyant, I guess, with it. It's a hey, how are you? Like, but men do that as well, like, just regardless. But the eyebrow raise is like a greeting. It's also, in this case, is like, really, it's just ramming home the point, trying to get there. Eyebrows raised. This is what Andrew's doing at eyebrows raised, but he's not even, while he's doing so, is still this bullshit. Move, your robot. You're so stiff. Why are you so stiff? Because you're scared of revealing something that isn't in line with what you're saying, because you're the disingenuous bag of crap. You're just not real. And you expect people to follow you, and unfortunately people are naive enough to follow this asshole, but the young and naive. Nobody above the age of 30, I wouldn't have thought, thinks this guy's worth anything, worth following. Well, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be some idiots out there, but the majority are going to be young, because they're not worldly minded. They don't really see what the game is yet, and you need a bit more life experience, right?
It's my arrest.
Again, eyebrows raised, and he's putting the finger forward. He's really trying to ram home a point here.
Zero. If you took any...
So, what he's saying, get close to that.
For criminal charges. It's actually very interesting that me, one of the most famous people in the world, who's been vilified by the legacy media and places all over the internet, while everyone has attacked me from every single angle, while federal agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me, we stand here with zero.
This does get very interesting. Excuse me, I'm eating some chicken.
Famous people in the world who's been
This does
vilified
get very
by the
interesting in a minute.
legacy media and places all over the internet, while everyone has attacked me from every single angle, while federal
federal agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me. Yeah. Okay.
Agencies from multiple countries have called over 2,000 women who know me. We stand here.
It's something that a lot of people will miss here, particularly if they're an Andrew Tate follower. The Andrew Tate's their god, right? They won't even for 1 second realize what just happened here. There was 2,000 women. We stand here with 0 new accusations. Not 0 accusations, but 0 new ones. So there's been accusations, but he hasn't heard any new ones past those accusations recently. It could be even it's not a Freudian slip, because, or maybe it is. A Freudian slip really is when you're thinking about, like, if you're working for somebody at work and you're doing really well, you're very useful, you're a jack of all trades in your workplace. So jokingly, you might be referred to as the dog's body. And jokingly, they still respect you. But then you're introduced to somebody who's new starting to the firm by a manager, and the manager might be at the back of their mind saying, don't say dog's body, don't say gopher, don't say this. Because they're focusing on those words while they're talking, they end up saying it by default, as if that's really what a Freudian slip is. People think it's them genuinely thinking, like, in a way that in a more detrimental way in that situation, but it's not. They're trying not to say what they say. So yeah, I guess it's not a Freudian slip in this case, but it's just interesting to hear him say there's 0 new accusations from these 2,000 women. They haven't had any new accusations. Why don't you just say, none of these women have accused me of anything? It's because they haven't, because there are accusations, but there's not been any new ones past the current court case. So these 2,000 women are all, these thousands of women are accusing you of something. She misses this, and I really think this is important. You'll see other things like this. You might think I'm being over analytical, and perhaps I am in just this one thing, but they mount up over time. You see Andrew talk in these ways very often, and he does it here. There's more to come in those ways in which he talks. This is not putting words in his mouth, by the way. These are the words that have come out of his mouth, and he could have put it in a way that didn't make him look as guilty, but he is guilty, so here we go.
With 0 new accusations since my arrest. 0. If you took any famous
person, any man of substantial wealth,
any man of substantial wealth, and you called 2,000 women who knew him, he'd find an ex-girlfriend is upset, somebody who wants money who's upset. They called 2,000 people who knew me and could not find a single.
He did it again. They couldn't find a single woman to make a new complaint, a brand new one. He's trying to cover his back here by saying, yeah, that in all honesty, they called these women. And he doesn't, there's no way for him to know which ones have complained. That some of them want to be protected, their identity protected. This person named Sophie that comes up is probably a real person with a pseudo name, made up anyway, which he probably knows that, which is why he kind of plays on that. People, if you're doing jury service, for instance, as well, your identity needs to be protected. And yes, I know jury is there to help solve a case, or discern whether someone's guilty or not. They're not the victims. But victims, in many cases, particularly when it gets this serious rape and so on, want their ID protected, right? And that happens.
Woman to make a new complaint. The only
A new complaint, not a complaint, but a new one. So they've already complained.
The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which...
So he's admitting there are complaints, which we can prove applies...
We can prove are lies. And...
Which we can prove are lies, not applies. The person who made this video was too weak-minded to really listen carefully to what Andrew was saying in the first place. Because they trust Andrew too much. Let me rewind it. He didn't say applies, it said are lies.
He wants money, he was upset. They called 2,000 people who knew me and could not find a single woman to make a new complaint. The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which we can prove are lies. And
We can prove are lies, not prove applies. Maybe the individual was using a text-to-speech automation that is not as good as Google's. Let's see what Google does. Prove our lives, not as good, but a little bit better maybe. I don't know, it's kind of rhymes. There's an I in it, so applies. Well, applies has an I in it. Whatever. He's saying which we can prove are lies. He's not saying applies, and he's not saying lives.
And that's where it stands. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to pretend that I'm some kind of evil predator, when actually I'd argue the fact that people who've been investigated to the level I've been investigated to, if you were to take the average man on the street and investigate...
So, got him riled up. He's more expressive, at least with one hand. But I still think it's a robotic body language. There's very lack of fluidity in his body language.
His entire life for 14 months.
The more fluid and expressive somebody is in their body language, it usually equates, particularly if it's on time, very, very well timed with what they're saying. Studies have shown that it usually equates to a more confidence as well as intelligence individual. I don't know what could be said about mine. I stumble my words a bit. I don't consider myself that intelligent when it comes to very academic thinking. But everyone has their strength here and there. Enough about me anyway. This has nothing to do with me per se necessarily. It's to do with my analysis here, to warn people, avoid assholes like Andrew. Like the plague. They're not real, they're not genuine, they don't care about you, they're addicted to manipulating people, and they want to do you, it just won't do you any favours. It's going to be very, very bad for you.
Anyone who's ever known him and vilify him in the media and encourage people to come forward for money, and you're trying to contact every ex-girlfriend he's ever had.
Would come forward and accuse those people of rape and accuse those
I
people
think that you would have a lot more. I think you would have a lot more flack than I've got. I'm actually such a nice person.
I'm a nice person. I'm a genius. I'm rich. I'm famous. Thousands of people support me. Shut the fuck up. Seriously, you don't need to keep saying these things. Trying to convince people, because he's losing credibility faster and faster and faster. Why? Because there's no smoke without fire, and he's generally not what he wants you to believe he is. It's that simple. It's why he keeps shouting out this bullshit that I'm nice. You're a pussy, Andrew. You're weak. and you're a con artist, you're not real, you're not a alpha male, whatever that really is. I mean, sure, it's normally used as a name for a powerful and confident man. But in psychology, the term alpha male it doesn't exist anyway. Just men are attracted to competent women. Women are attracted to competent men. Some men find shy women attractive because they feel like they want to help them out, protect them. Some women like shy men out of a mothering instinct. It's a instinctive thing. And sure, the maternal instinct and love, they kind of integrate. Men feel like protecting, women feel like protecting. But they don't want somebody like Andrew. Generally, I mean, want the much more worldly and had life experience end up realizing what a nonce Andrew really is. A nonce who's pretentious, a con artist who pretends to be something he's not, excessive paranoia about how he looks, because this is why he's such a attention whore in the first place. You know, the type of person who do 1,000,001 selfies and pictures of him in front of a car, he walk a certain way, look a certain way, and that's what the low esteem teenager does. Hope that people will accept me. Am I wearing the right stuff? Will I be able to say the right things? What has Andrew said to young men about approaching a woman that they're interested in? Nothing. Not really. You know, only in line with his business. Not in line with who they could be in improving themselves. Or just going up to a person, going up to a woman they find attractive and just saying, we've had great conversation, I want to be more than friends, can we date? Let's see where that goes. If it's a no, then no biggie, you can be friends. And you know, there is a thing that kind of gets awkward where people are friends for too long, and you do get, well, men call it the friend zone, but you put yourself in a friend zone. It's not women doing it to you. It's, you know, that's bullshit. No, I've been friends with men and women, and it's just nothing wrong with that. Men and women can, you know, men can be friends with women, really good friends. You don't have to have, it's not inevitable that there's a relationship out of it. You don't expect it. Don't think there's something wrong with you if it doesn't go that way, or something wrong with her. And plus, people are not ready for a relationship 24/7. There's certain contexts where it's okay to have a very temporary relationship for pleasure only. But it needs to be agreement between both people. Because if one's expecting it to get serious and long term, but you're expecting it just to be a bit of fun, well, then you're not very socially skilled if that happens. Ask each other what you really want. You don't go and see other people if a relationship does get serious, unless it's admitted and agreed that it's an open relationship. Then you have to be careful, extra careful with health issues that could arise with sexually transmitted diseases. So you take precautions, protection, and so on, and be careful who you get with. But that needs to be agreed between people. You don't just do one thing, and because it's just mistrust there. And it's Andrew Tate doesn't really talk about any of that. He doesn't talk about relationships and trust in a way that it works both ways. He talks about manipulating people to trust you so that you can get more out of them as a means to an end, monetization, webcam, and so on. And he's a bag of shit. He's addicted to the business and approach rather than what I'd rather be addicted to. If I'm addicted to anything, is being social, and I love being social with the few friends I do have in person, and public bar culture in the UK is meeting places, and you have good banter with people and all that. You can have some good friends come and go, good acquaintances. It's better to have more acquaintances than it is friends, I think, because they have a potential to be friends. While drinking alcohol with them, it can increase the pleasure of the social interaction, but don't prioritize the alcohol before the social interaction, because if you do that, you could become addicted to the drink, which is now more important than people. Now people won't support you because they don't matter, or they think they don't matter, and you don't matter anymore. This is the same effect that Andrew will have on you if you want to replicate him. Because people are a means to an end rather than really useful in support and you supporting them. If you want to be supported, you need to give support. If you want to be respected, you need to give respect. If you think you need to earn respect, and you need to go out and earn it, Andrew doesn't do any of these things. What he does in manipulation to fool people into thinking that he's respectful and earns respect, but he doesn't. It's all a con artist game, which is why he's trying to hide his body language, because he's not genuine. Enough of this rant. Anyway, let's move on.
The BBC has spoken to somebody since your arrest who says exactly those things, that with you it's all manipulation, there's an ulterior motive.
Is this Sophie?
Everything
Is this Sophie, in quotes?
Sophie? Oh, it's Sophie, the fake name, no face, the story that was invented.
To please him and
story that was invented. Maybe a story was invented, maybe not. Regardless, be interesting how he talks about this. A story that wanted to please him and wanting him. Yeah. This is.
Wanting him to be happy. That I was just kind of okay, do whatever you want.
And what is she?
I believe that because, again, he will try and gain the trust, and once trust is gained, people are more willing to do things that they wouldn't do before the trust was gained. They then get a bit more trust, and they just keep chipping away, and before they know it, they're in front of a webcam doing these dodgy things. And money's coming in. A lot of money coming in, they're going to run. They're going to think, well, I need to get out while I can because I didn't really look what I'm doing. How did I get here? It's people like Andrew who are really, if people focus on harnessing a skill, that skill's going to improve. He's focused on harnessing a skill to manipulate these women to do webcam, which is why he doesn't say it about it on the first date, his own words, because he's got things to hide.
Has she accused me of a crime, this imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is.
Has she accused me of a crime?
Emotional.
He's very concerned. Has she accused me of a crime? Very concerned about it. If you're really innocent, you don't need to worry about people accusing him of a crime. I mean, just look at Johnny Depp, accused of so many things, but he was innocent, and he come out and proven to be innocent. But it was excessively absurd what Amber was coming out with, that she didn't really need Johnny in court. You just need her just to keep digging her own hole, because everything that she brought to court as evidence just failed anyway, because it wasn't evidence that was in line with what she was claiming. And she would be dead if anything that she claimed was true. No human being could survive that main of physical abuse, man or woman. the amount of crap that she claimed happened to her.
Or psychological manipulation.
I've asked you a question, and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss.
This is aggressive. You know, this is.
Has she accused me of a crime, this imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is.
Has she accused me of...
Yeah. Here, the interviewer should say no, but she's trying to make a point. But again, the interviewer is probably deliberately trying to get Andrew riled anyway to expose himself, because he is a bag of crap. They know this. Anyone with an IQ of dirt knows this. There's no smoke without fire. By the way, I don't know if anyone knows anything about colour psychology, whether there's anything to it or whatever. In my own experience, people who wear purple tend to be a bit, who wear purple a lot, tend to be a bit weird. Personal opinion. Out of the people I've met in my life, that might just be my experience, might be, not be other people's. I like purple, but not on clothing. I have things out of purple. My walls used to be purple until I decorated this room. So I don't know. What do you think? I need some lighting in here a bit. Put some lighting done. There we go.
Emotional or psychological manipulation.
I've asked you a question, and I've...
Eyebrows raised, arm comes out. Look, I've asked you a question. He's ramming home a point. And I really think that people need to answer questions and really need to listen to each other way more than they do in society, because people talk at each other rather than and over each other. I see too much of that, and I really hate it. The eyebrows raised. I was up, emphasising the point.
Allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here, because I've allowed you into...
Correct, you're not the boss here. It's saying that while leaning forward. It's quite somewhat aggressive, but like he said, it is his own home, so I guess he's somewhat justified. I don't agree with the interviewer's approach, but it is a BBC, and I really don't like the BBC, so I don't like Andrew either, so there we go.
My house.
I'm asking you the question.
Her eyebrows raised, ramming home the point. Nodding. I'm asking you the questions. Now it turns into an argument. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question.
Correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answer.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor.
Got an anti-authority in street there, but I want I've got an anti-authority in street, but not for the same reasons, because I'm not a bag of crap like Andrew.
Legacy media giving you relevance by speaking to you, and I'm telling you now, this Sophie, which the BBC is invented, which there's no face of, nobody.
Both this text in the video isn't accurate. Google's text is not that accurate. It's a bit more accurate though.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority.
Why do they gotta add dramatic music underneath this? Is it just Andrew Tate follower bullshit? Like, just get a life. Your front door opens. Open it. Walk out there. Get out. You shut it behind you. Get out there and experience life in person to person, not over the internet.
I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you, and I'm telling you now, this Sophie, which the BBC has invented, which is no...
This Sophie, which BBC has invented... Why did you come out with Richard? Where did Richard come from?
Face of. Nobody knows who she...
No, which... No one's in her face, nobody knows who she is.
Of course not. And
BBC not invent.
because you never invent anything.
sarcastically said, yeah, sure, because never invent anything. And looks to the side dismissively, kind of a bit of sarcasm there. And
now, this Sophie, which the BBC has invented, which she's no face of, nobody knows who she is.
The BBC did not invent.
Of course not. And because you never invent anything. And she's not filed criminal charges against me. What are we talking about here? What is she saying?
Talking about emotional manipulation into the sex industry for your financial gain.
Absolute garbage. She has not filed criminal. This person, if they exist, has not filed criminal charges against me. I welcome anybody who believes I've harmed them, male or female, any point in the past, to file criminal charges against me. I will fight them. I know who I am, and I know what I've done, and I know the truth, and I know that I'll be found innocent of this.
There is something that comes up here in a bit. I know the truth, and I know that I'll be found innocent of
attack. The reason I'm being attacked
is
because of my massive influence, not because I've ever hurt anybody. And for you to sit here and say that everybody around you is saying you're innocent, but that doesn't matter because the state will say they're victims, and they're just going to grab everybody you know and call everybody victims, even if they say they're not, and try and put you in jail. You are describing a Matrix attack. You're not just...
Oh, the boogeyman, the Matrix. The Matrix. Who can you trust? Is she part of the Matrix? Am I part of the Matrix? Am I Mr. Smith? Is he Mr. Smith? You don't know. Did I already say it about the childhood? If I've already said it, forgive me, because I'm a bit tired and tried to do this video a couple of times. But I'll say it anyway here. Early childhood, you're going to have nightmares, this and that. And let's say, hypothetically, that is imagine a particular scenario. There's moonlight coming through the window. It's middle of the night. It's casting shadows. You're a child. You just woke up in the middle of the night from a nightmare. There's the moonlight's causing a shadow from a coat or jumper or something hanging over a chair, and then the shadows in the corner. It kind of makes it look like there's somebody hiding in that corner. There's something there. So your heart's already racing because you had a weird experience in a nightmare, and then you look in the corner and you think, whoa, something there, and you want to call out to your parent or whatever. You get the light comes on if you from a caring parent, and perhaps you get the pet talk to say, look, there's nothing here. You might even get shown what's caused the shadow. You turn the lights out, it's just your coat on the chair. Relax and wait till you're calm enough, and then everyone goes back to sleep, right? The boogeyman is fake. It's an illusion. The thing a cult leader does is basically create a boogeyman to inject fear into your followers. The first two things they do is create an imaginary enemy and tell you everybody is wrong except for the cult leader. Follow the cult leader, replicate them, and then you get like a tier system probably as well, where you get brainy points from the cult leaders saying, yeah, now you're a bit more like me, keep going. And because Andrew Tate loves this, he's in love with a replication of a fake persona that he created, and he wants people to believe it. But his own brother said word for word about the fakery, really rammed it home. You don't get successful by pretending, you get successful by doing the things you're pretending to be. When I heard that, I thought, wow, that's why things are fucking up. And his brother wants to replicate Andrew. Yeah.
Describing human trafficking.
I'm describing women who are
Appears to want to replicate him.
going to court to accuse you of rape and human trafficking.
We will see what women go. We will see what women go to court at the
Can I
end of
finish,
this trial.
please?
We'll see which women go
Can
to
I
court.
finish, please?
We'll see which women go to court.
I'm describing women who are going to court to accuse you of rape and human
Sophie
trafficking.
hasn't gone to court. Sophie doesn't
And
exist.
I'm describing women who have spoken to the BBC at length
Sophie doesn't exist.
and other media.
He's very adamant that Sophie doesn't exist, but how does he know when he's rounding up all these women, naive young women, for the webcam business? How does he? He's not gonna really care about remembering a name, and I think, you know, most likely somebody will use a fake name to cover their identity if they really feel they've been victimized. So even if he's never had anyone come into his business who's named Sophie, he ain't gonna remember the name, or even if he has or haven't, he's not gonna remember the name anyway. So yeah, it doesn't matter, it's not relevant. Claims that he's very adamant that this person doesn't exist. I don't know really how he can claim that when he's seen video footage of you're saying, oh, these girls here, I don't know who they are, go and enjoy. Yeah.
Organisations about what they say is emotional manipulation and coercion, and I'm quoting back to you your own words.
I don't know where they're from, is what he's saying. I don't know if he had a list of names.
Words where you describe.
They're not my words.
Coercion.
They're words you found.
They're not my words. If they come out of your mouth, they're your words. Look, if they're just words on the internet, well, it doesn't mean that. Like, my words right now come through this microphone, gets digitized, gets recorded on the video, and it gets digitized even through another digital process. I upload it, you hear the words, all of that is a transition of that was caused by my words. What you hear on the internet, me saying a particular thing, is because I said it, and it can be easy for today's automated AI systems and all that to fake, you know, deep fake and all this. Sure, you can get text-to-speech things now that give an accent, and one of them is one that sounds very much like George. Not George. What's his name? It's an actor. Some actors out there anyway. Freeman. Cool. What's his name? I'll get the name in a minute anyway.
They're words you found on the internet, and Sophie doesn't exist.
On your
so let's move on to the
website,
next subject.
In your voice.
Move on to the next subject.
No, I think I'll stick on this one for a minute. So there's other places in that same website where you say you get girls to fall in love with you, and they do it because they love you, because they want to do what you say. Convincing women to take.
Why say these things if you don't mean it? It's just like the asshole Dr. Witnesses. Here's what I'm saying. But no, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I meant this other thing, and go and put it in a different way, which still means the same thing. Because the dishonesty is there, and it's overriding any ability to say, no, you're not doing that, because that is what you're doing. Same problem with Dr. Witness.
Take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you. That's coercion. That's emotional manipulation. That's abuse.
I'm going to look up that name I was thinking of. If I can get it right. No, that's the wrong one. Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman was the one. There's AI things out there that can replicate the accent and so on. There's a comedian actually in the UK does impressions. You want to hear his Morgan Freeman impression? Really spot on. It's really cool.
What you've found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should.
Your website, your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my.
I find that awkward because she doesn't mention the name of the website. What's weirder is he doesn't mention the name of his website. He says, "Oh, it's not my website. It's this. It's that." Was something cut out here? I don't know. The BBC presented this interview, but obviously they might have cut things out before it was released to the public. But was it Coberate.com? Some bullshit like that.
Website. Next.
It's the website you've taken down, and I wonder why those comments have been taken down.
No website's been taken down. My website is the same. It's been the same for a very long time.
The comments on this website, on the original website, have been taken down, and I wonder why.
You are accusing me, I'm guessing.
Nobody does this in body language. Nobody does this to this excessive level. His body language is not fluid at all because he's got things to hide. I can't emphasize that enough. He's acting like a freaking robot here. But, you know, people, his followers, are saying, no, that's because he's confident and secure. He doesn't need to expend extra energy in his body or whatever. He's the king, this and that, whatever. No, this is not natural. It's not natural. It's very unnatural, but one reason he does this is because he's trying to restrict any attempt he's trying to restrict any slip up that he might have in his body language that might contradict what he's actually saying. And we get some more of the words that he's saying in a bit. Like you said, new accusations. It's been accusations new, but we get to another nuance here in a minute that really brings things in a bit more, crystallizing my argument here a bit more.
Trying to say is you're accusing me, and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of, and I'm emotionally manipulating.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
And I'm asking you about that.
Absolutely not is the answer. I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before, the only other person who's been found, despite absolute rigorous, destructive levels of investigation and prodding into my life, is this imaginary Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist. And if you were to find any single other man on earth and try and analyze his life forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
It's not just...
Thousands of women have come out in my defense. Thousands of women have come out in my defense, and you've not mentioned that. Thousands of women come out in my defense.
Because...
Thousands of women? Have you seen thousands of women in his defense over the internet? Because this bullshit is born on the internet with his business. We've seen it in the body language, doing this thing where he be replicating, typing on a keyboard, message them on what's the website, Instagram. Do you want to do webcam? You know, it's saying this and that. I'll link my other video about his body language where it was much more fluid. It was much more fluid because he wasn't talking, he wasn't being interviewed. He was, however, talking to a camera. But he let his guard down there. Too confident there. And really, as competent as this body language stance looks, he's not. He isn't. He's just very good at hiding it. Another trick you might be able to do is, like, if you've got excess energy, nervousness, it's just wiggle your toes in your shoes while you have a more confident stance. Never done that, but I've read about that, and I think, well, if you're more genuine, you might not have to feel that level of anxiety. It would cause extra energy around here, but he really does press those four fingers and that thumb a lot more when things are getting a bit more intense, and his breathing increases as well. But this is extreme control over body language, and his followers would see this as, yeah, great control over his emotions, great, and his body and the mind. He's amazing. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's fake. Okay, he's fake. He's hollow, he's lonely, and he's chasing his own tail. He's addicted to the bullshit that he does. People don't matter. You don't matter. He wants you to follow what he's doing because you're his bitch. You know, you're a man or woman. You're just a means to his end to make him look important to get away with the bullshit that he gets away with.
The problem is when women accuse you of serious crimes
Okay.
and emotional
But
manipulation.
let's agree that
That's
thousands
the
of women.
problem.
Let's agree that
It's not the
thousands,
problem that some people say you haven't done it. It's a problem that some people say you have.
thousands of women come out in my defense, and as we stand,
I don't see thousands of women coming out his defence. Have they? Or where are they? Have you seen it? Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place on the internet. I've seen some, usually much younger than the 30s and much lower. 30 at the oldest, probably. There's one individual who's been around doing shorts on the internet and YouTube shorts, and yeah, she has no idea what she's talking about, but in great support of him, deluded into this fake image of an ideal man. But we do this to each other. It's like, oh, you want the perfect woman, you want the perfect man, the ideal this and that, and there's no such thing. Like it or not, there's no such thing as a perfect body, there's no such thing as a perfect man, there's no such thing as a perfect woman. It doesn't happen. Deal with it. You make do with what you're given, you do the best you can with what you're given.
and right now we have an open criminal investigation. People who are involved in the criminal investigation are saying we're not victims of anything. Andrew's fine, he's never hurt us. You're saying, no, I have the opposite to that. I have to counter that. I have someone called Sophie with no face, a fake name, who we've invented, and she's not accusing you of anything criminal. So I don't see the whole point you're trying to make
You say you
here.
manipulate women, they say you manipulate women. Why wouldn't people think you do?
I'm not here. Do you think I'm manipulating you?
I'm asking you about the testimony you've given on your website and the testimony
No,
women have given
you've
about
printed
you.
something off that you found on Reddit, and you're going to sit here and say that that makes me a bad person. I'm saying that you should know better as a journalist and do some proper journalism. Let's investigate the fact that
I
thousands...
think you should answer my questions
I am.
properly.
I am. I already have, and we should... should move on. She's just trying to start an argument.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive. In fact, if you were to read the comment section of nearly any video I post, especially by the legacy media, 95% of the population agree with me. Most people know that the things I say are positive. Legacy media as a whole has lost all its credibility in the last 3 to 4 years. Nobody believes it. And it's a shame, it's a massive shame that the BBC come here and try and push and purport this idea that I'm a dangerous person.
I'm putting my own words to you.
I'm anti-drugs. I've never pushed drugs or any, I'm anti-drugs, I'm anti-violence. The UK is facing a knife crime.
The UK has always had a knife crime problem. I don't think it's an epidemic. It's just, look, in 2012, 2013, 2012, there's kids as young as 10 years old in South London wearing stab-proof vests. Unfortunately, that happens. Poverty is on the rise, crime goes on the rise. Poverty is on the rise in the UK a little. Cost of living is way too high. The cost of living's gone too high because the cost of fuel's gone too high. The cost of fuel's gone too high because resources out of Russia. Nuance because the bullshit that Putin's doing, but it's not just the UK suffering here. As soon as poverty increases, crime increases. And yeah, there are parts of the UK, believe me, I know, because I live in the UK, that are very dangerous. There's parts of the UK that are not a problem as much by comparison, relative, but you still need to be careful and be worldly minded, learn a bit about the world and who you can trust, who you can't, regardless of this bullshit, who's part of the matrix. And this crap is going to cause distrust of people who are just genuinely worried about you, who are genuine and do want to help you. But now you default back to the cult leader then, with the brainwashing your mind, with being so damn paranoid. And yet he wants you to be, he pretends he wants his followers to be, the male followers, powerful, confident men. But you're afraid, who can you trust? So you default back to Andrew. He's got you by the short and curlies, so to speak. He's got you controlled. You're his slave. He's Mr. Smith.
Epidemic, and they're going to sit here and say that I'm the most dangerous man in the UK.
You have said you're the most dangerous man in the world.
I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world.
You've also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. I'm glad you find that funny.
I find it funny that you're sitting here saying that I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world, and you believe that's. When did I say that?
I'm asking if you believe it.
No, you said you're the most dangerous man in the world. Is that some kind of proof that I'm dangerous? Am I Dr. Evil now? I'm telling you that it's very upsetting that you're going to sit here and that certain organizations in the world are going to try and pretend that I'm the biggest force of evil on earth when I'm genuinely a force for good. I'm genuinely a force for good. And the reason they're doing this is because of the massive influence I have over the youth, and they don't like that I'm telling the youth.
You massive influence over the youth, not people who have been old enough and wise enough to get out of their youth and see you for the bullshit that you are. I was raised again, you know, it's like, look, I got a point here, I'm ramming it home. But it's the only body language cue that he's really revealing. Occasionally he opens up his arms a bit, but he's insecure actually, but he's very good at hiding it until you actually read into why is he keep defaulting to this. It's not natural. Nobody does this. This is learned. This is an act. This is practiced. I wouldn't be surprised if he has pseudo interviews or whatever and practices this in front of, like, you know, whatever. It's just simulated interviews or whatever.
To think outside the matrix and ignore things like.
Here we go in the matrix again. Think outside the matrix. Everyone's a liar unless they're outside the matrix. How do you know who's in it or out it? You don't. And so you keep defaulting, if you believe this bullshit, to Andrew, because he's a leader. He's the one he wants you to think he's Neo, but nah, he's Mr. Smith.
The BBC, which come here with loaded questions and false narratives and try and paint.
I'm Neo. People who don't follow his bullshit, who recognizes his bullshit, is Neo. You're Neo, I'm Neo, you're Neo. That man over there, there's lots of Neos about.
Innocent people as guilty.
You've said women's intimate parts belong to their male partner.
I said that if a woman marries a man, she takes his last name and traditionally the man gives her away. I've been pushing traditional religious beliefs because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in
Yeah, well, religion poisons everything, like I said in the previous video anyway.
Regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. If you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years.
You get cocky and I don't like the BBC either, but it's like, ha, the BBC, you're wrong, I'm right, kind of childlike response there.
The reason they're doing this is because of the massive influence I have over the youth, and they don't like that I'm telling the youth.
I was raised ramming home the point.
To think outside the matrix and ignore things like the BBC, which come here with loaded questions and false narratives and try and paint innocent people as guilty.
You've said women's intimate parts belong to their male partner.
I said that if a woman marries a man, she takes his last name and traditionally the man gives her away. I've been pushing traditional.
I don't I can't fathom why marriage even still exists, but that's me. You know, I'm extremely anti-religion, extremely anti-marriage. Marriage has been almost like weaponized, if you will. Like when there's a divorce, the women get. That's how it's been in the UK. I don't know about other cultures, other countries. The women seem to get off better, whereas the men have to be lumbered with a lot of issues financially, and the man has to pay for the child and so on. Yeah, I've heard women say I married him because now I own him, and they literally use the way it's worded is sounds like you're weaponizing marriage because you can, to feel more secure that the man won't run away because they know things turn really bad for the man when there's a divorce. So men are increasingly, because of that kind of attitude, shying away from marriage anyway, in the first place.
Religious beliefs, because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's
obviously trying to get a point across. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. It was this point. Let me finish. And yeah, please do let each other finish. Stop talking at each other. But now, there's more him talking at the interviewer. But it's a little bit of a deep dive too sudden from the interviewer.
Not a crazy conspiracy theory. If you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more.
Sarcasm, eyebrows raised, one-sided smile. Sarcasm, taking the mick.
Credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years.
While finishing it, leaning forward to bring home the point. Eyebrows raised, emphasising the point.
If that's your point,
if that's your point, here's my counterpoint, and I'm going to ram it home to you.
Your narrative
You
you want to
also
push.
say that
Good
men
luck.
should be able to sleep with a lot of women outside marriage. That doesn't sound very religious or very conservative.
That's not what I said they should be able to. I said a lot of high-value men, a lot of rich men do it. And then we discussed at length on podcasts why rich men do it. And we also discussed why women decide to be unfaithful. It's not a gendered argument. We discussed unfaithfulness as a whole. What are the reasons and motivations for men, and what are the reasons and motivations for women? Because you have no time to actually... Because you have no time to actually watch... Gendered argument. We discussed unfaithfulness as a whole. What are the reasons and motivations for men, and what are the reasons and motivations for women? Because you have no...
She might believe that's not a gendered argument as well, or she might have just had an itch on her face. I don't know. That's too... I don't know what her baseline is much. She's... Despite her very lacking in some body language cues, hers is more open more often than his is open and honest. His is way too aggressively controlled until he actually steps out of that with hand gestures.
Time to actually...
because
He very quickly keeps going to that comfort though. It's like, it's this self-caressing, like the hand caressing the other one. He tries to hide that with the finger and thumb over the top of that. It's like hiding, look, I'm not insecure really. His whole persona, his whole approach is to pretend to be more confident than what he is anyway, so so it fits, right?
You have no time to actually watch my content. Because you have no time to actually watch my content at length and understand what I'm saying. You just come here with a small snippet which we provided to you on a piece of paper.
3 times doesn't make it true.
No, completely. You don't have a clue what I say or what I talk about. You never watch my content. You have small pieces of paper, small clips on a piece of paper, and you're trying to pretend I've said evil things. And then you're going to say I'm the most dangerous man in the world, which is truly laughable.
You said that, not me.
Okay. Do you believe I'm the most
Say-
dangerous man in the world, Lucy?
I'm not answering your questions.
Well, then we need to change the dynamic of this interview because, and I'll make this clear.
I have a point. Eyebrows raised. Ram home the point. The finger came out. By the way, I'll make this point, and he's about to lean forward as well. This is the only time he actually has any difference in his body language aside from the occasional hand movement. It's very restrictive because he's got things to hide.
I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police. I don't respect the BBC.
I mean, hers, although not as revealing her body language, she's more slouchy and more relaxed. Where Andrew's like, oh, I'm going to sit bolt upright and not move like a robot. Feet firmly flat on the ground, where hers is like, she's crossed her leg over the other, and I wonder her left foot is pointing away from Andrew a bit, and there's probably a doorway just past that chair behind Andrew, or to Andrew's left, behind him. Educated guess. I wonder if there's an interview footage of different camera angles here of the same interview, then be able to see that. That'd be good feedback for me if I'm right. Would mean I've improved my analysis a little bit more in terms of body language a bit. But if I haven't, that doesn't matter either. I just continue to learn as I go.
I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals, we are people, we're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo, and that you don't have
Keeps leaning forward with that, hey, looking right at her, and it's like, hey, the eyebrows raised. It's slightly aggressive, actually.
answer my questions is disingenuous.
But while doing this, look how much pressure he's putting into that finger and thumb now. He's releasing his anxiousness, and that might go through a different body language cue through doing that, which is his way of hiding his anxiety here and there, although he's somewhat aggressive as well.
Because I don't owe you.
I mean, look at that. Nobody does that, really.
This man in the world, Lucy.
Look at his hands.
Answering your questions.
Well then we need to change the dynamic of this interview because, and I'll make this clear, I allowed you into my home. I'm doing you a favor, giving you the
Caressing.
first interview I'm giving to the public. You don't come here with a position of authority. You're not the police. I don't respect the BBC. I don't know you. You do not come here with a position of authority over me. We are equals. We are people.
Feels threatened at this point.
We're citizens of the world, and we sit here as equals. And I see you as my equal, and if you ask me questions, I can ask you questions back. For you to come here and sit down and pretend you're the Gestapo, and that you don't have to answer my questions, is disingenuous because I don't owe you anything.
Asking questions and you answer.
But I don't owe, no.
However you want.
This is a conversation, and I don't owe you any degree of authority over me. So let's make that clear. And that doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or from the BBC or the CNN. I'm here to answer your questions and be honest with you and do you a favor.
Great.
And I'm doing you a favor. But you come here with loaded questions. You're trying to paint a narrative of me.
His comfort zone keeps coming back to that.
Which is negative.
I'm asking you
And
about
that's
The fingers underneath, it's like, it's getting darker here, but a transition. This is a long video, my apologies. Again, this is self-soothing behaviour. It can be hidden with a illusion that this is going on, with this over the top of it, which is this underneath. It's what he's doing. He's self-soothing, but this, really, the pressing he's doing here and stretching that out, and right in front of his balls, he feels threatened. If he's really that confident and is really innocent, there's no need to feel threatened. Let's transition again.
fine.
You said that people are concerned about.
And that's fine.
You
But you're
have
not
said
going to sit here and
that
say you don't answer my questions because you're not above me.
This is also not supposed to be a third degree.
Absolutely.
Well, it would help if you answered the question.
I've answered every question so far.
Let me ask another question.
Sure.
You have said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner, and if she goes on OnlyFans, he is entitled to a cut of her income.
You are extremely, it's actually very...
He doesn't respond with, no, I think you took that out of context, it was a joke, this and that. He goes, OnlyFans immediately. You are extremely this and that.
It's very confusing to me why you're going to sit here, take long format podcasts I've done, which are 3 or 4 hours long, in context where I've sat with OnlyFans girls, 10 or 15 OnlyFans girls, where we've been joking back and forth, ignore every comment and satirical comment and sarcastic comment that the females have made, and then come along and say, you said this, and that, and you're the most evil man in the world.
That does happen, by the way, in society, unfortunately. I've seen it where it's okay to women to say something that's near the mark about men, but men say it about women, they get called out. I had a woman come into the shop that was very busy, and there was a bit of confusion over the till, whatever. And the woman goes, oh, he's a man, it's alright, he can't multitask. And I'm thinking, you sexist bitch. You know? And we are different, men and women, in ways in which men can multitask. Some men are way better than most people in general. They are a multitasking exception. Some women are the multitasking exception. In general, the difference is women are a little bit better at multitasking than men. Men tend to block out a lot of things when something requires more and more of their attention. Whereas women are much more bigger picture, take that on sort of thing. And it's, again, back to our that's hangover from our earliest evolution, our earliest times. It doesn't mean one should verse the other. It means the differences are symbiotic, teamwork. Whatever happened to men supporting women to support men? Teamwork, symbiosis. Women, the strengths of what the things that women are good at support men, and the things that men are good at support women. What a beautiful thing. I know it's just teamwork. Whatever happened to that? And it's not that's nature's intention. Symbiosis. If nature intended us to be in competition with each other, then we'd be two different species anyway. We're the same species that should be in support of each other. Not men versus women and vice versa. And you know, I wonder if Andrew Tate does his own laundry, by the way. You know, or does he have a woman? I think the women should be doing all the washing, cleaning, cooking, ironing. What do you think wife means? Washing, ironing, fucking, etc. or something?
I don't know if you understand what sarcasm
Did you
is.
say it?
I don't know if you understand what sarcasm is. I don't know if you understand what context is. I don't know if you understand what satirical content
So you're saying it was
are.
sarcastic?
I'm saying it was a very interesting talk show. And for you to sit here and say that that is my true core beliefs and that makes me a bad person is disingenuous.
Is it?
Of course not.
Was it sarcasm?
Absolutely. You should watch the show.
You were being sarcastic
You should-
when you said... Let me
you
just
should-
clarify.
you should
okay?
watch the show.
Let me clarify for the audience. You were being sarcastic when you said a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner.
No.
You didn't believe that.
No, it's not that. It's that you haven't watched the show at length, and you should have, because...
Was he being sarcastic? He said no. He doesn't even say no, I don't mean that. That's never something I would say in meaning or whatever. It reminds me a bit of Dr. Witness. No, that's not what I said. I said this other thing which means the same thing.
The woman was saying, my man's car belongs to me because he's my man. And she was on OnlyFans. And then 20 minutes later, when she said she was on OnlyFans, I said, well, you're selling your body, that belongs to him because he's your man. And she laughed, she laughed, and she said, ha ha, yeah, that's...
Okay, there's banter going both ways. There's no smoke without fire.
Probably true.
This is typical of the BBC, though. They don't do the research heavy enough. She should have brought out in like a laptop or with a video on it. So you're saying this, but okay, there's a clip. Let's look at the bigger video. Of course, the interview would be too long then. This whole thing's a bit loaded. This video I'm doing on this is a bit loaded because I'm trying to analyze different things. There's something else he says here in the words about to come up that I saw earlier that really does bring in. It's like, hey, why would you put it that way? We'll get there.
If you watch the show, it will make sense. For you to come here with doing no research at all, and then say, I don't understand what I'm talking about, but I've got this piece of paper with a few things printed off, that's why you're saying the silly things you're saying. You should watch the show, do some research.
Do you believe it?
I've already answered the question.
Not really.
Of course I have. Can we move on? I've answered the question.
Do you believe that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner?
Of course not. I've just answered the question.
Yeah, it's a convoluted way to answer them. It really is. You should have said, no, I don't believe that. This was a funny banter thing that went to and fro. So if you're going to say this, then I'm going to give you this example, which is absurd. Don't really think that. And let's move on. See, that works, right? But no, he has to do this convoluted crap. And you see...
And then say, I don't understand what I'm talking about, but
He's pressing that finger of fun. I wonder if he... I wonder if his forefinger, his index finger aches at the end of the day, pressing that together so strong.
I've got this piece of paper with a few things printed off. That's why you're saying the silly things you're saying. You should watch the show, do some research.
Do you believe it?
I've already answered the question.
Not really.
Of course I have. Can we move on? I've answered the question.
Do you believe that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male?
See, his right foot does jiggle about occasionally as well to get rid of some excess energy. A lot of the excess energy is going through that finger and thumb.
Of course not. I've just answered the question.
Tap, tap, tap.
And does this woman believe that her man's car belongs to her? It's not a gendered argument. I really think that it's genuinely sad that when the BBC has a chance to finally interview me at the end of all this Matrix attack, that they don't come here with
all this Matrix attack, the boogeyman out there, part of the Matrix. It's a fucking bag of crap. It's just completely... it's so easy to create an unseen enemy. It's frighteningly easy to do that with young, naive people who are still learning about the world. Particularly when you're younger, you have more of an anti-authoritarian streak, and you can use that to manipulate, pull strings with people's paranoia of who to trust. And the ones pulling those strings are the ones you shouldn't be trusting anyway, But they get deluded into thinking, oh, this person's trustworthy, that person's trustworthy, when they're not.
Any kind of genuine openness to try and understand my influence over the world, or the things I push, or what I'm trying to teach the world, or why I'm a good influence on the world, because I am a massive...
You're not a good influence on the world, you're a bag of crap.
Good influence. Instead they come here with pieces of paper, with printed out excerpts from 5-year-old podcasts, taken out of context, to attempt the same Matrix attack on me, which has been...
The Matrix. The Matrix is coming to get you. Weirdo.
Attempted endlessly. Every single...
You run out of argument. Oh, default, it must be the Matrix then. It's like, look at religion. It's like you run out of arguments. Like, oh, God works in mysterious ways. Or you run out of arguments. Like, oh, it must be the devil's work. It's the same fucking shit. God's a boogeyman. The devil's a boogeyman. Everyone who creates a boogeyman out of the... rather than go, well, I just don't understand. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand it, or perhaps I'll work it out at some point. Put your hand up and say, yeah, I'm not smart enough to understand that, or I'm confused, or whatever. Just admit your weaknesses so that you can do something about them weaknesses. Turn them into strengths, maybe, or improve No, you don't want to do that. You want to pretend, and like his brother said, you don't get successful by pretending, you get successful by doing the things you pretend to be. Oh, so empty. I feel empty inside when to think about living a life like that, pretending to be something you're not.
Single person legacy media has already tried this, and it doesn't work. I really encourage you. I encourage you to read.
I was raised.
Read the comment section on YouTube when this goes on YouTube, and you will see that nobody believes a word you're saying.
She's asking questions. She's not making opinions. So can you? Nobody believes a word you're saying. Well, yeah, she's asking questions about what is being said. So it's kind of weird to say nobody believes your questions. Well, it's the answers to questions that can be believed or disbelieved, I guess.
I'm asking you about these comments is because we've got the chief executive of Rape Crisis naming you individually as spreading a dangerous ideology of misogynistic
That's the chief executive in the UK, by the way.
rape culture.
Absolute.
It's the comments you make that are leading people to say things like
absolute
this.
garbage.
National organisations who are saying that are blaming you for increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls being attacked, of female teachers being harassed.
If that was
I wouldn't pin that on Andrew. Shit like that happens anyway, unless it's admitted by individuals who are doing these stupid things, that they're doing it because they saw Andrew Tate online. Young people should be more policed by the parents of what they're doing online. Parents need to be more tech savvy anyway, of what the fuck the internet actually is and why it's a very, very dangerous place. But yeah, I wouldn't pin that on Andrew, but again, this is a hit piece in order to get Andrew to respond in defense, so Andrew reveals himself. So, you know, this hit pieces that are just unkind, unworthy, and just wrong to do. But when you know enough about the person you're doing a hit piece on, that they are corrupt and they are doing untrustworthy things, there's no smoke without fire, then you might be more encouraged to feel like the hit piece is justified.
Pupil, because of you and your teaching.
Well, that's absolutely.
It seems narrow-minded to me to say certain things are going on in schools that are in line with misogyny. He's not the god of misogyny, he's misogynistic. That doesn't mean that he's the only way. It's like he didn't invent misogyny, so come on, you know, it's a little bit pathetic and weak doing that, unless again the individuals that are doing these things are going to say, well, it's okay for Andrew Tate to do it, I follow Andrew Tate, I want to replicate him. If they're saying that to justify their actions, then yeah, then you can say, you can pin blame then, right?
Garbage. I have never ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I preach anti-drug. I preach religion. I preach no alcohol. I preach no knife crime. Every single problem with modern society, I'm against. I'm teaching young men to be disciplined, to be diligent.
I would say I'm self-disciplined to a degree. I could do better. I would say I'm very diligent.
To listen.
But I don't need Andrew to tell me to do that, or tell me why it's important to do that. I try to listen attentively as much as I can, and it can be hard work when people are talking crap or not really delivering information in the best way I can understand it, or going over the same stuff over and over in excessive detail when I've already got the message. You need to cut it back and just use less words for me to get to the point quicker. Things like that are nuances that we all experience, which is why we need those nuances we know we need to deal with them, and deal with them the best way we can. We don't need Andrew to tell us how. We don't need him. He's not important.
To train, to work hard.
To train. What kind of training? Mental training, meditation, physical training? What training? To train to be more like Andrew? No, thank you. To work hard, I work hard. I have to. I mean, I need a wage at the end of the week. I don't want to be some fake asshole milking the system for benefits, because that means other people lose out anyway by doing so.
Be exactly like me with no criminal.
Come follow me, be like me. We've heard that before, haven't we? Yeah, come be with me. Come be with me. And yeah, okay. Really?
Record, never even.
I don't have a criminal record. I have a fine, a seatbelt fine. Have dealt with the police for other issues, but I don't have a criminal record. This year is going to be my 50th trip around the sun, and I don't have a criminal record. I've mingled with very unsavory individuals. They have a criminal record. I don't. I've seen them improve themselves. They didn't need Andrew Tate to improve themselves.
Even yet charged in this 14-month Matrix investigation.
14-month Matrix investigation. That means that there's a year and 2 months.
Absolute.
It's the comments you make that are leading people to say things like
absolute
this.
Garbage.
National organisations who are saying that, are blaming you for increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls.
Well, it'd be easy to blame Andrew Tate, because it's people like Andrew. It's not Andrew necessarily himself, is it?
Being attacked, the female teachers.
It's the manosphere bullshit on the internet that's got out of hand. We see this a lot. The internet has way more power than people constantly try to convince themselves that it doesn't. I mean, look at the riots at the Capitol during Trump's power, if you can call it power. Just power of corruption, power of chaos.
Being harassed.
If that was
by
true,
pupils,
because
of you and your teaching.
Well, that's absolute garbage. I have never, ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I preach anti-drug.
I don't think he's an athlete anymore. He doesn't do a profession. He doesn't do it professionally anymore, does he? His kickboxing career, he made his millions and it ended. I wonder why though. Too much of a pussy to continue that. He'd rather satisfy his oral fixation and suck on a cigar than continue kickboxing. Maybe. Don't get me wrong, kickboxing is an incredibly intensive sport, and you really need a high level of self-discipline and routine to maintain the health that's required. It's not going to be too healthy sucking on a cigar. It's not going to be good for the lungs, for one, for sure.
I preach religion.
Anti-drug. If he's sucking on a cigar, I wonder how much nicotine he gets, because that's a drug. Yeah. I wonder. Of course, he's anti-alcohol, he says, but isn't there footage of him and his brother drinking alcoholic drink? If you're that anti-alcohol, then you shouldn't be drinking an alcoholic drink. Of course, he'll have a counter-argument, I'm sure. But that's not anti-alcohol, that's having some alcohol. I drink occasionally, and it's just, I don't prioritise the drink over my social relationships, so it's like, it may add more enjoyment to the social relationships with friends and family, and anyone who might want more than just being friends. But you drink responsibly. Hydrate with water before you drink as well. Talked about that recently.
I preach no alcohol. I preach no knife crime. Every single problem with modern society, I'm against. I'm teaching.
You can tell he's from the UK when he talks about knife crime. That is a problem in the UK. People think, oh, we don't have guns. The UK has an obsession with knives. Probably does more damage actually being knifed. It depends where you're being knifed than being shot. Depending where you're being shot, I guess. Let's move on.
I'm teaching young men to be disciplined, to be diligent, to listen, to train, to work hard, to be exactly like me with no criminal.
Nobody wants to be like you dumbass. No criminal record. You're about to have a criminal record, Andrew. What then? Do you want your followers to be exactly like you then? Or will they want to once you have a criminal record? You and your brother are about to have a criminal record.
Never even yet charged in this 14-month Matrix investigation.
It's a 14-month investigation that the Matrix, the boogeyman, has instigated. So get people supporting Andrew because he's a victim of the boogeyman that he created by using this idea taken from a fictional film called The Matrix that also took the idea from society where authorities have too much control over individuals to start with and get away with stuff. They have the power and so on. But he is Mr. Smith. He's not Neo.
And I'm saying that if men grew up like me, which are hardworking and diligent and some emotional control and stoic,
I have all these things. It's hard work. Emotional control is hard work. Being diligent is hard work. But that's life. Life is hard work sometimes.
To be disciplined, to be diligent.
I would say undisciplined.
To listen, to train.
Diligent. Listen.
To work hard, to be exactly like me with...
No. None of those things are just you, Andrew. Those things are the things that men do anyway. And women. It's just what things that people do. There are lazy assholes who don't want to do any of that and want everyone else to do it for them, which poisons everything. There are weirdos that pretend to be doing all that and get a lot done for them as well. And one of them is called Andrew Tate.
No criminal record, never even yet charged in this 14-month Matrix investigation. And I'm saying that if men grew up like me, which are hardworking and diligent and some emotional control and stoic, we're going to have a better society, not a worse society. To sit here and say that schools in England, which is a failing nation, which has knife crime going through the roof, violence going through the roof, men's mental health going through the roof, and they're going to all blame me because I appeared on the internet 1 year ago, is disingenuous. It's disingenuous. And also,
financial success
correct.
With a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's all mixed together in what you teach. You teach that a woman, if a woman comes home and accuses you of cheating, you should hit her with a machete.
Look at that leg bouncing. Look at that bouncing away. Look.
Shove her off.
Is that what I teach?
That's what you say.
No, if you actually watch the clip, it will be about the woman attacking me with a machete. As usual, you've not watched the video, taken out of context.
Well, again, that is a very default worrying thing in today's culture. You talk about attack, it's always the man attacking, not the woman. Again, look at Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. Amber Heard was the attacker every single time. Regardless, Andrew is still a bag of crap.
Flipped it and attempted to attack me with a small excerpt. Let me tell you something, Lucy. I'm sure you're a very nice person. I'm sure you're a fantastic person. But if I were to take everything you've ever said online and just take small excerpts out of context, I could make you look like a misogynist. I guarantee it. In fact, I might actually do.
I'm sure you're a great person. He doesn't think so, really. I want to get to something that he's he's becoming very, very aggressive here, and it's like watching a child have a tantrum, though, and it's not professional. It's not alpha. It's definitely not alpha male. Look at this fucking pussy.
Do that. And then you're going to sit here and say, oh shit, I'm a misogynist because my clips have been taken out of context. If you refuse to watch anything at length and understand it, then that's what's going to happen.
The National Police.
I mean, I don't really like the interviewer either much. I don't like the BBC.
Police chiefs lead for violence against women. The NSPCC, rape crisis, safer schools, they are all naming you as being behind an epidemic of misogyny, even amongst...
I think that's just the power of the internet saying, hey, there's people out there that advocacy of misogyny, and everybody needs to point at something to blame the boogeyman, and it's all Andrew Tate's fault. Well, it's not just Andrew Tate's fault. It's the whole manosphere crap that has developed over the internet, particularly on platforms like YouTube. It's pathetic. It really is weak, and it's not really what I would call a man in the truest idea of the world, with relating to masculinity. I don't really see it as being brave. I see it as being fake. I see it as manipulation, lies, silly mind games, in order to manipulate people to get your own way. It's not genuineness. It's not what it claims to be.
Primary school children.
The idea that I made primary school children misogynistic because I own a nice car. Is that your argument?
It's the misogyny that comes along with it.
Oh, owning a nice car is misogynist.
No, it's the misogyny that comes along with it.
How does misogyny come along with owning a nice car?
Because you have an image of financial
I'm glad you're answering my questions now. We finally got the dynamic.
You have an image of financial success.
Answer my questions, as you should.
Excuse me. You have an image of financial success, but it comes along with attitudes towards women that are really problematic.
My attitudes towards women is that women should be protected and provided for, and I've said that at length. In fact, I've said that over 50 times online. You never mention it. I say that my girlfriend doesn't have to work unless she wants to. I take care of her. I die to protect a woman. I've talked about how I've stood up and faced a knife to protect a woman.
And in return, you want...
I don't think he'd love anyone enough to risk his life for them anyway. But yeah, look at me, I'm the hero. I took a knife for a woman.
Authority over her in the way you have over a child or a dog.
Absolutely not. I've said that women should be protected and provided for. And
in return, you want authority over her, because if you have responsibility for someone like a child or a dog, you say, you have authority over them.
If you want to go down this argument, we'll go down this nuanced argument. I said that if I have responsibility for her safety, I should have a degree of authority over her safety. Meaning, and let me explain my point. If I'm the one who has to fight and die to protect her, I'm the one who decides how we walk home. I'm the one who decides the route we take. Because it's unfair for her to say, I want to walk through the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, but you have to face the knives. That's what I've said.
I think men and women just need to protect each other in the best ways they can, relating to their skill sets as men and women. Physical protection is easier for a man to do over a woman, generally. But then if you've got a woman who's a martial artist and you're just the average guy, the woman can be the protector. There's nothing wrong with that. Let people be people with their skill sets, and if they are the exception, great. If they're the exception, let them be the exception, as long as both people are in agreement that this works. It's teamwork. Stop competing with people with the mindset of men versus women and women versus men. One's better than the other. Bullshit. Teamwork, please. Can we please get back to teamwork and support each other? Caring way? That's not going to happen, I guess. Too much damage has been done by people like Andrew and Andrew himself.
And they're going to sit here and pretend that I'm trying to treat women like dogs, which is garbage. Every single man in the world who loves his woman understands that he has to protect her. And every single woman in the
woman
world
is
likes
not
the
a child.
idea of a man who would protect her. If you were to say to most women home right now, do you want your husband to protect you in a violent attack? They'd say, yeah, of course. Nothing I've said is
If you said to
misogynistic.
most women,
If your partner is a great martial artist and she's a woman, would you want your woman to protect you in a violent situation because you can't, as well as she can? Yeah, by all means, there's nothing wrong with. It's not being a pussy to lend power to somebody, two women, to protect you if they can. Again, teamwork. You're not equal. It's Chris Rock said it in a beautiful way. He said something like, "You're not equal. Sometimes you're the lead singer. Other times you're just at the back playing on the tambourine. But you best be sure you're playing a tambourine properly. You don't want a really bad tambourine player. It's teamwork. You're equal. One person's more powerful than the other in certain skill sets, situations, and vice versa in other situations. We're not the same, but we have the opportunity to have a go at things that we're not as good at. That's called equal opportunity. But people get this knee-jerk response out of that. When I say we're not equal, what they're hearing is men are better than women. Or if a woman says we're not equal, what they're hearing is that women are better than men. Stop the vicious fight interpretation and think of it as skill sets are better. There's skill sets out there that some people are really good at, other people aren't, vice versa. Join forces in your partnership. Have one do the one that you're weak at, and another do the one that the other one's weak at. The one doing something that they're good at that thing, but you're not. Teamwork.
would you want to lose authority in the relationship, to not be treated as a free and legal equal to your...
I didn't say that. I said I need to have authority over the route we walk home.
When you compare women and the authority over women that you believe you should have to having authority over a child or a dog, it's not the same, because a woman is a free, legal adult.
Correct.
You're equal.
Free, legal adult, my equal. But if I had a girlfriend and we were walking home late at night, and I said, let's not walk down that area, it's a bad area, I have to protect you if anything happens.
That's understandable. There's plenty of places where women that just would not be safe walking down on their own as they would a man. Generally. In general. Aside from certain individuals that I know of are very highly skilled. Some of them are women. And they would be way more adept at protecting themselves. But you don't put yourself in dangerous situations deliberately. You be more worthy about the world. But he doesn't want to influence people who are being more worldly minded and learned about the world anyway. He wants weak, naive, insecure women to manipulate, and weak, naive, insecure men to manipulate, to buy into his bullshit. So none of this argument is just incredibly shallow and superficial, and it's like an egg shell, very easy to break one way, and gives an illusion of strength another way. Try to break an egg from its lengthwise, put weight on the bottom and top, much harder to do, and just on the sides, very easy to break.
I want to take the long way. And she said, no, I have to walk this way, even though it's the most dangerous route, I must.
Then what?
And then I would say,
Who does that? I have got to walk this way, even though it's the most dangerous route. I know even the smallest of rural towns where there's only like limited ways to get around things, there's always a better, safer way around. Always. No, I have to walk this way. Even in, at the other side of that scale, cities, larger cities, there's always an easier way to get from point A to B in terms of safety. So it's like, no, I have to walk this. It's a weak argument. Again, just like, it's easy to break through like a broken eggshell.
You're welcome to. You could do it. You're a free and legal equal. But I'm not going to walk with you and protect you. I think that I should be able to decide the route. Because I have an obligation. And my obligation as a man is to protect and provide.
She can decide the route if she wants to. Yeah, sure, men have a better spatial awareness and sense of route direction. There's actual studies done on that, but that's not me being sexist. In general, but just because of that, it doesn't mean that the men always have to decide the route. There are men out there whose spatial awareness isn't that good. But in general, hormone differences has the male brain as being superior in spatial awareness and direction than it is in women's. And women's auditory cortex is far more superior than men's. More complicated, more dense in neural connections, in the neural connectivity there. So you get men very adept at reading maps, and women adept at using more words to describe something. So you can have an argument between a woman and a man partnership, trying to look for going off out seeking a location, and you got the man reading the map and the woman talking, and of course the man wants to focus and he block out things because he's not as good. He can, but he's not as good at multitasking as women. So now you've got the man going, shut up, I'm trying to read the map, I'll talk to you afterwards. Let him finish reading the map, then he's very happy to talk to you after. And just cooperation, teamwork. And the man needs to listen to once they know where they are. She might remember a discussion about a place along the way. She can't quite remember where it would be. Sure, but you might remember where you can stop off to have some food prior to arriving at your location, because auditory cortex is better at remembering words. Many men are better at just remembering context within pictures. They're not so good about words and all this. This is why women get pissy with men not remembering dates, birthdays, anniversaries too well. That's why men carry a tiny notebook with them, and whereas women put that in their head much more easier than men do. We are very different. We're more the same, but the differences are stark. Teamwork, support each other. Don't be a pussy and say, no, you going where I want to point out where you're going, because I gotta be the man. I gotta look like I'm the man. I gotta look like I matter. Well, look, if your esteem is that low, go get therapy. What I've put, it really is a weak person. This is, manipulating people to be failures and weak, with the delusion that they're going to be powerful and competent.
For female, everything I'm talking about is traditional gender roles, which 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago.
Sure, gender's kind of social construct. Sex is different. Your male and female sex is very different too, but there are genetic leniencies that the women prefer biologically certain gender roles, but not always, which is why you're going to get some men feel like they think more like a woman, or this and that. This is why, you know, transgenderism is a thing. Regardless of all that, you know, that's another video, I guess. But growing up, there's a lot of appliance of gender role indoctrination, but to a child. If they're a boy, you get typically, traditionally, boys' toys. But many experiments have been done where you just present a bunch of toys that would be traditionally female orientated or male orientated. Typically, the boys will lean towards those toys that have been part of the social construct of gender. Versus, it happens, but there's some nuance sometimes that can go the other way. So, with a reason, one of the reasons, saying, you know, if a social construct has you behave in a particular way with your gender, and the opposite sex finds that attractive in you, then, and you have children, you might have some lenience genetically to prefer that anyway. So gender, social construct, but it's also bred into, which has always been the case from our earliest origins. Gender roles, so it is a social construct, but it's also, a caveman's going to seek out, cavewomen are going to seek out each other, which lend themselves better to differences in support, one skill supporting one thing for your survival in one person and skill in another, and that will be encouraged because that's what, if that's what you're looking for to start with, but it's also socially constructed, but you find it attractive that you're going to breed it in. So there's a blurry line between the gender being a social construct and actually biological. Which is why there's a blurry line between people feel like they should be a woman, but they grown up in a man's body. Testosterone in the brain, flood in the brain, has many changes. Like they've shown also that testosterone increases timing with a beat, increases accuracy, with timing with a beat, for some reason. I think they did find out, but I'm not really sure. But to me, that's not necessarily important right now. But look around the world. All these musical bands are all over the world. 9 times out of 10, the drummer is male. Not because it's been they push out the female. It's like you got more singers that are female than they are male. There's, the voice, the words, the articulation of words, auditory cortex denser in women than it is men, much more complicated, and you got spatial awareness with and sometimes the physicality of being a drummer is much more accurate in men. There's more violinists that are women than there are male violinists. And you might say, well, the violin's a more feminine thing. Well, yeah, because you might say singing's more a feminine thing. Well, because they're better at it. Again, it's social construct encouraging a breeding of that, encouraging looking for those traits and we emphasize these things via social construct anyway. It's like dressing it up a bit more, saying, hey, I am this way. Do you find it attractive? Then great, then let's breed this, then breed these traits.
would not be considered outlandish, would not be considered crazy, would not be considered dangerous or misogynistic. The world has changed, and a lot of people haven't changed with the world. Please understand there's a lot of women at home watching this right now.
Do you think Andrew would change with the world, or would he just keep going around it as total bullshit? I don't think he's ever going to change. He will go through prison, and he'll come out trying the same shit that he's already tried, while trying to convince you that he's a reformed man, that he was deluded and I don't know, tricked or whatever. It'd be some kind of excuse. Putting that prediction down right now, we'll see. It depends how long is he going to be in prison for, because he's going to prison, I guarantee it. The authorities just need a bit more time before he gets done for his crimes.
I like the idea of their man sticking up for them, protecting them, and providing for them. And just because the world has gone crazy and the legacy media has gone crazy.
Yeah, the world has gone crazy. One of the variables in the craziness is because of people like Andrew Tate and Andrew Tate himself.
Most people at home are still relatively sane. And these are the people who are going to write on the comments that Andrew isn't sane.
Oh, the world's gone crazy, but most people at home are still relatively sane. So has the world gone crazy or not?
There's a difference between
that foot going tap 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 tap. It is right foot going.
A lot of people haven't changed with the world. Please understand there's a lot of women at home watching this right now who like the idea of their man sticking up for them, protecting for them.
Sure, as protection, I like the idea of women sticking up for me. And not out of a physical conflict necessarily, in general, but then I know women who do far better than me in physical conflict, because I know a woman who does Sandoval freestyle karate, and she even teaches it. You wouldn't want to mess with her. Be great to have her around to stick up for you. And it doesn't mean that you're not much of a man to allow her to do that. But people like Andrew Tate would feel like that's wrong somehow, that you're less of a man if you're relying on a woman to do that. Rely on people's strengths to support your own as well. You know, that's the thing.
Protecting them and providing for them. And just because the world has gone crazy and the legacy media has gone crazy, most people at home are still relatively sane. And these are the people who are going to write on the comments that Andrew isn't saying anything that's outlandish. It's the whole world believes these things.
Tap, 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 tap. He's really going there. I mean, look at that right foot going, and then look at him looking at it.
The world has changed.
There's some adrenaline going here, I think.
And a lot of people haven't changed with the world. Please understand there's a lot of women at home watching this right now who like the idea of their man sticking up for them, protecting them, and providing for them. And just because the world has gone crazy and the legacy media has gone crazy, most people at home are still relatively sane. And these are the people who are going to write on the comments that Andrew isn't saying anything that's outlandish. It's the whole world believes these things.
Tap, 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 tap. Look at him go. Tap, 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 tap.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I'm having a nice conversation with you, I'm enjoying it.
No, you're not. You're not. You're not enjoying it. Look at that foot go. That's a nervous smile. Rather, yeah. And she's looking at him giving a evaluation body language cue, thinking, "Oh, is he really? Or what's going on with this man?"
So it's no problem. It's been fun so far. It's fine. We good?
Yes.
Tell me when.
Do you want to clap again?
No, we didn't stop, no?
I can do the clap. Now we good?
No, thank you. Thanks.
If a man broke into your house, wouldn't you want your husband to protect you?
There's a difference between conservative values and emotional control, coercive control.
We're
lack
talking
of
about
consent.
protection now, and I'm saying if someone.
No, I've already pointed out why his view of protection is wrong anyway. By all means, protect each other. Be there in protection for each other. You know? If you're a man and somebody slanders you and the woman's present, then she needs to stick up for you, saying, no, he's not like that. You know, if it's true that you're not like a particular way, then fine. You know, they should stick up. If they don't, then they're not worth having around anyway. I don't think it's respect and support each other.
Broke into your house, would you want your husband to protect you?
It's not about conservative values or protection, it's what you're demanding in return for that.
Well, I'll give you this. I don't know who your husband is. I don't know if he would stand up to protect you or die for you, but I'll give you this. If someone broke into this house right now with a homicidal maniac, I would expect me and the other men in this room to stand up and face them while you and the other women in this room could protect yourselves. I would actually believe the men should go and engage the attacker. I believe that. And even though I don't know you, and you've come into my house with a hostile agenda, and you've come here to try and make me look bad, I would still stand up to protect you. I would still stand up to protect you because I believe that's my role as a man.
I am asking you about things that you have said that have caused major national organizations, including the police, to worry about you by name. That's what I'm asking you about.
It's not what I say.
It's not about whether you protect your partner or not. It's about what you have said that has caused such concern in the UK. And I want to put it to you that you...
I don't see much happening in the UK. Maybe it's not happening in areas that I visit. Most places I visit, just think Andrews. There was one place where the conversation was raised up about Andrew, and everybody thought he was just a bag of crap. Really, I don't know where. Maybe it's happening in the schools with young, or the colleges. Maybe young teenagers, college men, or so on. I don't know, but wherever it's happening, if Andrew's the cause of it, then there needs to be evidence of that, and how you get evidence of that. The individuals doing these unwise things. If it's Andrew's fault, then they'd be saying that's because I follow Andrew online. This is the right thing to do, whatever they did, and so on.
You don't really care about the harm it causes.
That's not true.
Because
that's not true.
Making controversial statements like this online has made you a lot of money.
Okay, so firstly, I genuinely am a force for good in the world. You may not understand that yet, but you will eventually. And
a force for good in the world. No, it doesn't sound like it to me, Andrew. It's like men have got to be a particular way. They've got to be just like me. And women have to be exactly like the way I want them to be. No, thank you, Andrew. Fuck off.
I genuinely believe I'm acting under the instruction of God to do good things, and I want to make the world a better
Yeah, religion poisons everything.
place. I genuinely...
There's a boogeyman out there. It's a matrix, and there's an imaginary being in the sky that he's acting. He's got a voice in his head telling him to do these things. You want to trust this guy?
I genuinely believe my legacy is a good legacy, and I believe that eventually, when the legacy media catches up, they're going to understand I'm a good, positive influence. I'm not interested in damaging the world for money, because if I was interested in damaging the world for money, I could have sold drugs, or I could make rap music and encourage everyone to stab each other like all the drill artists do.
Or you could make controversial...
A lot of rap artists are very anti-violence because they come from a violent origin, background, and they're trying to deal with it via their rap. Eminem's white... I forget the name of the song, but it is actually very anti-drug, because I mean, yeah, he went through some issues here and there. They're not condoners, most of them, of drug abuse. It's a transition from corrupt origins and gone through drug abuse to get clean. But they have a lot of culture, a distrust of police and so on, particularly the black rap culture, particularly in America, where they pretend there isn't racism, while there is. Yeah, you can understand if you really, really listen to some of the terminology. Purple Hills was a song, I think it was called Purple Hills. Eminem's a D12 did a song about, it was really about pharmacy drugs, that you can be addicted to those as anti-drug thing as well, really. Anyway,
statements online that attract a lot of followers who you then direct to your website
where
they pay
I could make
to learn how to be
sure.
like you.
I mean, I could make jokes online. Who doesn't? I mean, I could make a joke
Are you
online.
saying that all the controversial things you've said are jokes?
No, I'm saying that these organizations and the BBC who are going to sit here and pretend that I am the face of damaging the youth is absolutely garbage. It's completely disingenuous.
It makes you
and the
mad.
reason
I'm sorry.
he's a variable in what's going wrong with youth. He's a variable. It's not all his fault, but he's a definitely adding to the equation.
We have agreed to do an interview where you are going to ask questions that are going to give us the opportunity to clarify some things. These are very loaded questions, and so far, sorry, I have arranged this and I'm talking right now.
Ooh, what's going on there? Is that one of the people he employs? Statements online.
Direct to your website
where
they pay
I could make
to
jokes.
learn how to be
Sure.
like you.
I mean, I could make jokes online. Who doesn't? I mean, I could make a joke
Are you
online.
saying that all the controversial things you've said are jokes?
No, I'm saying that these organizations and the BBC who are going to sit here and pretend that I am the face of damaging the youth is absolutely garbage. It's completely disingenuous.
It makes you
And the
mad.
reason
I'm sorry,
This-
we have agreed to do an interview where you are going to ask questions.
We agreed to do an interview where you're going to ask questions that are going to give us the opportunity to clarify some things. Yeah, this is like an all-out argument at this point. It's not like an interview with questions, because he's very indirect at answering questions that have been presented to him directly. Even if the questions are nuanced, he responds with a very nuanced way instead of trying to clarify it.
Opportunity to clarify some things. These are very loaded questions, and so far, I'm sorry, I have arranged.
These are very I'm telling you right
And I'm talking right now. So, these are very loaded questions, and this is not what we discussed.
very limited questions, and this is not what we discussed. They are limited questions. They are very limited questions, actually, and the interviewer could have done way better. They really should have.
And this is not a conversation.
We were very clear that the question.
This is not the conversation that we agreed with. I think it was said there, not we were very good at.
You're sitting there. You're sitting there and just accusing. We're not here to face new allegations.
I mean, this is the BBC. It's falling apart. Has been falling apart for a long time. Many years ago, I turned old TV before the flat screens were that popular. This TV went back a bit, and instead of paying TV licensing for the BBC, I gutted it all out and put a fish tank in there, lighted it up and everything else, and got a knock on the door with TV licensing, And I said, oh, come on in, have a look. And he said, there was TV in a corner, you could be breaking the law, yada yada. I said, go and have a closer look. So we went a closer look. I said, turn it on. And it lit up with a tropical fish tank inside. Never got another visit again. I'm not going to pay for the BBC. I actually plastered over, took the aerial out the inlet in the wall, plastered it over this to take the piss and prove a point. There's no aerial coming into the house. Ergo, I cannot receive BBC.
This has all been discussed, answers have been provided, so if we could please move on from this side of the interview, I would appreciate it.
I would like to hear what Andrew's got to say about the fact that when you make controversial statements, it attracts people to follow you, and then you direct them to your website where they
Direct to a website where
pay you a monthly fee to learn how to be like you. And so the
yeah, you can imagine. I mean, there's going to be people out there watch my videos, they like me or whatever. Can you imagine me doing a video and say, I want you to be exactly like me, you need to pay me so that I can teach you to be like me. But I wouldn't be teaching you how to be or a replica of me, because I know I got issues and problems with some things. I wouldn't want other people to have those issues because you got your own anyway. Ergo, nobody is genuine when they tell you you need to replicate them. They can give you advice and things that already worked for them, but to copy them exactly, it means you got all their problems, but they're pretending not to have those problems. Everybody's got issues, everybody lies, everybody's got competence issues on something, everyone's got baggage here and there, everyone's got their own to deal with. You wouldn't want to deal with Andrews, you got your own to deal with. This is why it's stupid to have a role model, to copy perfectly. It's inspiring the way some people have handled things out there, and you might look up to them. Like inspiring how Johnny Depp went about handling the bullshit from Amber Heard, but you really wouldn't want the baggage that went with that. It's inspiring though. So there's role models on one level, but then there's people trying to replicate and copy that person. Don't do it. Be you. Be the best you can be.
The more controversial statements you make, the more money you get.
The fact that that's the path you've outlined to one, my online university.
What did he...
About the fact that when you make controversial statements, it attracts people to follow you, and then you direct them to your website where they pay you a monthly fee to learn how to be like you. And so the more controversial statements you make, the more money you get.
The fact that that's the path you've outlined to one,
Interesting body language cue there.
my online university, and two, my presence on the internet. The fact that you believe that's the path just shows you've done absolutely zero research. Genuinely zero research.
Okay, so how many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media?
Genuinely zero research.
How many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media where you direct them to the website?
And Lucy, I encourage you to go out there, do some genuine research, watch.
Answer the question. There was something... where was it? There's the way I want to get this before I end the video. I need to go end this. Said you're a dangerous man, yada yada yada. People, questions. Might have missed it. Might have been early. Absolutely innocent, absolutely prosecution, innocent, fabricated. Trying to look for something. I can't remember it word for word what he said. It seemed very convoluted the way he was going about this, and it just advertised is something to be very suspect of. And most people watching, not to be cocky, but most people watching would have missed it. Or I think they would have, but maybe I'm wrong. Very good, yes, yeah. Maybe it is much later. Followers, yada yada yada. It's no, it's not. Let me shrink that down. Long ass video, I know, but get some popcorn. I wanted to do this analysis, and I'm going to finish it. Whether it's the last thing I do or not.
Comment that the females have made, and then come along and say, you said. Absolutely.
Well, it would help if you answered the question.
I've answered every question so far.
Let me ask another question.
Sure.
You have said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner, and if she goes on OnlyFans, he is entitled to a cut of her income.
You are, and you should have. Section of nearly any video I post, especially by the legacy media, and genuine damage to people. I don't.
Answers.
No, we're. The only complaints they have against me are the initial complaints, which we can prove are lies, and that's where it stands. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to pretend that I'm some kind of evil predator, when actually I'd argue the fact that people who've been investigated to the level I've been investigated to, if you were to take the average man on the street and investigate his entire life for 14 months, call everyone who's ever known him, and vilify him in the media, and encourage people to come forward for money, and you try to contact every ex-girlfriend he's ever had.
Would come forward and accuse those people of rape and accuse those
I
people
think
It's probably here.
the case that's ongoing. And not all of them are saying that. One of the witnesses says,
we can't just, we can't go into.
She should have known that to start with. It is a BBC. They have this pathetic. Again, it's not in support of Andrew, though.
To the case. The case is open and active.
well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution, by the case.
We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. I know the case better.
There we go. This is it. We have, and look, is it, I don't know if I get terminology misconstrued, misinterpreted, but if it's an open criminal investigation, does that not mean it should be open to the public to discuss? Or is it open because it's a jury? Or what is the qualifier for open in criminal investigation? Is it because there's not closure yet? I'm not sure. But regardless, I guess they open up a investigation, so it just means it's started. But that's not what I'm getting at here. We need to just go over this initially, then I'll end the video pretty soon.
The case is open and active.
Well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution, by the case.
We have an open criminal investigation. I am absolutely not really sure I'll be.
This this is fascinating the way this is the terminology. It's like there's two. Is he fighting in himself here? And while he's saying this, he's much more lenient towards the self-soothing, or being more honest about it. There's like the hand clasping the other hand, that I talked about before. But the thumbs are up, so he still feels relatively confident that he thinks he's cool. People with their arms folded, but the thumbs are up as well, and might maybe somewhat protect themselves, but they still think they're pretty cool because the thumbs are up, right? There's something to look for, but regardless of that, criminal investigation, I am absolutely not really sure. When people use a positive absolutely, they don't use not after that. Absolutely not really sure. They normally say absolutely sure, absolutely certain of innocence or whatever, but he's absolutely not really sure. So whatever's going on at this point, at the point into whatever's going on in the investigation in the court, has him with doubts of where he's going to get away with things, but also, it's my interpretation, but also he's so addicted to putting on the fake persona that he's confident and innocent and he's a genius, he's amazing, he's this and that he's scared to admit it. But he's also self-soothing. Right, look at the hands right there.
Found innocent. I know.
I'm absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. So, you know, it's like two sentences slammed together in there that produce this hybrid. But in one, if he's innocent, it should be, I'm absolutely sure I'll be found innocent. But instead he's put, right, also, he's absolutely sure. He's not really sure he'll be found innocent. So, criminal investigation, I am absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent. So which is it, Andrew? It's not the way people talk unless they got something to hide. A lot of people would not have spotted this, I think. If you did, kudos. If I'm wrong about it being spotted, then sorry about sounding like I'm a little bit self-important there. But I really think a lot of people won't spot this.
Case better than you.
I'm absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent.
I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you absolutely not really. I've never heard.
I'm telling you absolutely. You did it again. I'm absolutely not really. I'm telling you absolutely really. I've never. Have you or haven't you? I'm telling you absolutely not really. I've never hurt anybody. Well, it should be. I'm telling you I've absolutely never hurt anyone. Or I'm telling you I've never really hurt anyone. Not absolutely not. Or absolutely not really sure. So there's stuff going on in the criminal investigation right now that really has his concerns peaking up, but he's so obsessed with his persona to present to the public that he has to do this body language thing that is extremely controlled. Look at the pressure he puts into those index finger and thumb. Well, blurting out, he's absolutely not really sure about things, or he's absolutely not really, I've never hurt anybody. Doesn't make sense. People don't talk this way unless there's contradictions going on or there's something wrong with the thought process to put the information out there in the first place.
The case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated.
So, criminal investigation, absolutely not really sure I'll be found innocent.
I know the case better than you. I know it intimately and you don't. I have seen all the criminal files and the evidence against me and you haven't. I know the truth of what happened and you don't. And I'm telling you absolutely not really. I've never hurt anybody. That the case that's been put against me is completely and utterly fabricated. And I'm never. going to be found guilty of anything. And it's very
What did you say just before that? I'm telling you, absolutely not really. He keeps using that disqualifier after the word absolutely, and I don't think this is a nuance between like British way of saying things versus different cultures' way of saying things. Andrew was born in the UK anyway, went to America with a kickboxing career. I'm telling you, absolutely not really. I'm telling you something I'm absolutely positive about. Oh, not really though. I'm telling you, absolutely not really. I've never hurt anyone. It just smacks very. It's very convoluted way to talk.
case that's been put against me.
Absolutely not really. I've never hurt anyone in the case that's been put against me.
It's completely and utterly fabricated.
Is completely. He said completely and utterly fabricated.
And I'm never going to be found guilty of anything.
I'm never going to be found guilty of anything.
And it's very difficult for me to answer your in-depth questions because we're sitting here inside of the territory of Romania. I'm beholden to the Romanian legal system.
So, I'm going to leave it at that. It's getting dark. It's been a very long video. This is going to take a long time to upload. That right there, and the excessive body language thing of sight. This, and you know, a bit when you see the breathing increasing when the things are getting a bit intense, leaning forward. There's like the expression. This was an argument. This wasn't an interview. I think she wanted to trigger Andrew in the hope that Andrew would reveal himself. Andrew's revealing himself in many ways that are indirect anyway, without his. It always happens. It always happens. I don't know what other words to describe. You see it time and time again. People pretending to be something they're not. The boasting. I'm a genius. Again, you didn't have Einstein running around going, hey, guess what? I'm a genius. Yeah. And people would go, yeah, we know. What have you come up with? No, just telling you I'm a genius. You don't need to advertise something that is mind-blowingly obvious that you are. But if you have to keep reminding people and keep advertising and being in people's face about it, that means you're trying very hard at trying to put effort into convincing people. And the unfortunate thing of that, you have to try harder if it's not true. Like, so many people know who he is now, and he's still trying so hard to try and save his skin. Why? Because he's not who he says he is. It's that simple. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I look forward to doing another video. Maybe I'll take a long rest from videos after doing this. My throat's hurting from talking. Got some congestion going on, so gonna get something to drink. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Bye.